Welcome to the 11th episode of the Shields on Hoops podcast. Here with Nick Peckham. Syracuse somehow, the love of God, found a way to win this travesty of a 23 minutes of basketball, 24-point comeback in the second half. Dead in the water. A lot of things happened. Syracuse did a lot of things. Colgate did a lot of things that were not very intelligent. And I think the one thing for me, the one tweet I kind of put out that I thought was the most true for me was that two things can be true, right? We can applaud Syracuse for coming back and fighting and finding a way to win and doing something very improbable. And at the same time, there are a lot of issues with this squad, right? So we can enjoy the win, be happy, 3-0. Maui's coming up. That's what we wanted coming in. They got a challenge before. They got a challenge here before things really get real, which I think is good for them. But it doesn't negate the fact that, again, there are a lot of things that just aren't going to fly against Tennessee, Gonzaga, Purdue, Duke, Carolina, UVA. They need to get shored up real quick for this team that are kind of alarming. So positives, obviously. I'm not trying to be that guy who's negative after a amazing comeback win, because it was. But we also have to understand, right? Like, Syracuse is an ACC school trying to make the NCAA tournament, and you're playing Colgate. Okay, and I understand Colgate's good. They've won. They've done a lot of good things, but it's still Colgate. Okay. So anyway, streak's over. New one begins. Hopefully next year it'll be up to 2. We'll talk positives, negatives, and everything in between. Like usual, Nick, I'll let you tip things off. Let's keep a basketball metaphor there.
There you go.
What are your initial thoughts about quite the game?
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it on the head, really. It was a crazy, wild game. Tale of two halves for sure for both teams. I'll put it that way. The last time Syracuse had a 20-point comeback in a game that they ended up winning was 2021 at the Dome against Notre Dame. It honestly kind of reminded me of that game when you really look back and watch it. Couple things I wanted to point out. Obviously, we do a podcast. We're all over social media. People comment on things and things like that. So I see a lot of things on social media throughout the game, after the game, before the game. Just a couple things I wanted to point out. First off, Syracuse fans, do not overreact to a game against Colgate. I saw a lot of fans on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you call it, that were calling for Adrian Autry's head in his third professional game as head coach of Syracuse basketball. Okay. Second thing I want to say is I saw a lot of comments about people saying that Syracuse has 4 stars, 5 stars, things like that, and Colgate doesn't really have those type of players. It's not about who gets ranked in high school and who doesn't. At the end of the day, you're playing a team that is a veteran team. A lot of these guys have played together, have won together. They won the Patriot League last year, lost to Texas in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and a lot of those guys are back from that team. So this is what happens when you play veteran teams that are very good, and Colgate is very good. They may run away with the Patriot this season. The only team that I really could see challenging them at this point right now is maybe Lehigh. But they're a veteran team. They're very good. So don't overreact to things, and do not call for Adrian Autry's head in his third professional game as head coach of Syracuse basketball. But onto the game, I will say, I know me and Brandon talked off air how we kind of wanted to see Syracuse get punched to see how they respond to something like that. Never thought it would be a 16-point deficit at halftime against Colgate. But Syracuse got knocked out in the first half of this game, and I was very curious to see how they responded in the second half. It didn't start off good the first 3.5 minutes of the second half, but somehow, some way, they found a way. They dug deep, and they pulled out a victory. They ended up winning by 4, so clearly they did not cover the 5.5-point spread that was on the game. Vegas always knows at the end of the day. But a lot of positives, a lot of negatives. Obviously, we'll get into player breakdown eventually, and we'll go over offensively, defensively, a couple things that we've noticed throughout this game. But they're 3-0. A win's a win. It wasn't pretty by any stretch of this game, but to see them dig out of a 24-point hole in the second half against a team that at the time was picking this team apart, running whatever they wanted on both sides of the floor. Was pretty impressive to see Syracuse kind of dig themselves out and come away with this victory at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I thought they had a chance still at halftime. I thought they might wake up and kind of put on a run, as bad as it was. But I'll be honest. When Colgate came out to start the second half and went on that 6-0 run, and Syracuse was continuing to do the stupid things they were doing on offense. I said like every player on the floor did something dumb in the first 3 minutes of the second half, and I was like, what is happening right now? Like, it's just like everybody did something just really just not intelligent. However, we can talk about how in a little bit. But they found a way, right? So let's maybe talk first half, second half, and we can sprinkle in player thoughts and numbers here and there. I'll start with the first half. So the first half, Colgate was hot from the jump.
They hit their first 4 threes, I think, right?
Yeah, Syracuse over helping inside, like leaving guys one pass away. Fundamental kind of defensive man-to-man stuff, and Colgate made them pay. They hit a bunch of their shots early, which was kind of surprising to me, given that they didn't shoot super well against Brown. But we'll see what they kind of how they even out as the year goes on. Obviously, we want Colgate to win the rest of the way, so they help Syracuse in however whatever ranking system there are. I thought that it's such a blur, to be honest, right now. I feel like I'm still coming down from the roller coaster of that game. I would say offensively, I don't know what was worse. What was the offense or the defense worse in the first half? I don't know.
Honestly, I think they both were bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
You take away the first 8, we'll say 7.5, 8 minutes of the first half, where Syracuse kind of matched them point for point. Mm-hmm. They were down by 1 at one point, and then they just went cold. They missed what they say? They missed 15 of their last 19 shots in the first half.
Yeah.
So they went as cold as you could probably go, and Colgate took advantage of it. That's what good teams do. That was something that I know you talked about pregame, was which team takes advantage of the other one's cold stretch. And in the first half, Colgate took a huge advantage of that.
Yeah, and there was even a time in that first half where Colgate had a lull too, while Syracuse was having a lull. So they could have pushed that thing open a little bit more, because there was 4 or 5 minutes there where both teams were kind of cold, which thank goodness Colgate went cold during that time as well. I thought the energy and the effort was abysmal in the first half. I don't know if that happened because shots started to not drop. That's what it felt like. It started to feel like
it kind of felt mental. Like, here we go again. They started off 4 for 4 from 3, and the guys on the team last year were like, here we go again. Is Colgate going to come in here and knock down 19 threes again? And
Syracuse answered, and then they stopped answering because they started missing shots for whatever reason, and Colgate kind of steadied itself out. But it just seemed like with every miss that Syracuse had, the energy was started to drop. Right, it just loose balls. Just again, expecting your athleticism to bail you out, like we've been talking about for 2 weeks now. Right, we've been saying the same thing every day on here. Your athleticism cannot just bail you out every play. The better teams you play, you can't get away with it. Right, and that's kind of what was happening. I felt in the beginning, and it just kind of compounded and became this snowball. Judah was pretty quiet in the beginning.
I thought personally, his first half of this game was probably the worst half of basketball I've watched him play in a Syracuse uniform.
I think I think it was the most disappointing first half I've seen him play. Maybe not his worst. I think it was most disappointing because, again, you expect him to lead the team. You expect him to come out ready to roll. And he just did a lot of silly things. And he knows they're silly. He knows. Again, we talked pre-pod. You can't miss a layup, look at the refs with your puppy dog eyes, and allow 5-on-4s. You can't do it against good team. You can't do that crap. It doesn't work. It's not Damon. It's not Canisius. It's not New Hampshire. You can't do that stuff. Like, you have to get back and play 5-on-5 every possession or you're going to lose, right? Like, you can't grab a dude at half court. You can't like try and pick everybody's pocket and give up 5-on-4 situations, right? Like, it's not going to work long term. He was much more disciplined in the second half. He was much more controlled. He picked his spots driving. Like, everything kind of ran through him during part of those runs, right? So I did think he kind of redeemed himself and made some big plays and did some things both defensively and offensively to kind of, even himself out. But yeah, it was not an ideal, and he'll be probably the first one to tell you, right? It just wasn't, that's not who he is. That's not who we need him to be. Like, you're a sophomore now. Like, you've been the man. You've been the man for 2 years now. Like, well, this is your second year of like pretty much being the best player, pro prospect on the floor.
Yeah.
Okay. So like it's time to like steady out. And I think, and this happened last year, I thought Judah learned from a lot of his mistakes. I thought that he like did a great job of maturing as the season progressed. And I think he will do the same thing this year. I'm not worried about that, but it's kind of been the same thing the last 3 games where he's got this like chip on his shoulder with the wrong people. Like you don't need to have your a chip on the shoulder with point guards from Canisius, New Hampshire, and Colgate. Okay. Like, you need to just play your game. You're the better basketball player. Everyone in this day in the gym knows it, and just do your thing. Like, do your thing. Like, just do your thing, man. Like, it just seems like he has like, he just gets a bone to pick. And when he does that, he starts getting silly. That's the best word for it. Silly. Like, just doing silly things he has no business doing. And he's just better than. And that's kind of what I mean by disappointing. But again, like I said, he often does bounce back and kind of learn from his stuff. It seems like maybe he like took like that mental kind of back step to start the year, and now hopefully he's going to kind of move forward. I
thought after he got that flagrant, and Autry kind of sat him down for the rest of the half. It was like the last like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and they kind of, I know Justin came in. Justin hit a 3 to kind of cut the lead from 19 to 16. And then they got to stop, and JJ missed the half-court shot right before the buzzer. But I thought that time where he sat down, you could see all the coaches on the bench were kind of in his ear the whole time he was sitting there. And he just seems in the second half to kind of come out a little more energized, more focused. There was a point late in the second half when they made that comeback where he kind of brought his teammates together, and he was like, this is our time. Like, let's finish this. Like, we didn't put all this work in to come up short, right? So the little leadership intangibles kind of came out in the second half. Obviously, you'd like to see that for the full 35, 40 minutes that he plays in the game. But that's also a learning lesson as a sophomore in college. So, like you said, hopefully it gets better as they go on. And this kind of early season struggles will be early season struggles.
And I mean, he ended with 23 points, 8 assists, 3 turnovers, 3 steals, 3 rebounds. So he had a solid night, got to the line 14 times, 0 for 3 from 3, 33 minutes in this one for him. I thought JJ had a good start to the first half. I thought he kept things kind of going for a while things were not looking super great. I thought he was pretty aggressive. I like to see him. 39 minutes for JJ tonight. Didn't come off the floor very much. 1 for 3 from 3. He ended up with 13.
And that 1 minute, the 1 minute he didn't play was the 5-minute mark, the media timeout under 5 in the second half. And he came right back in at the 4-minute mark. So he he didn't even sit on the bench. He sat in the first chair where he knew he was about to get back up and go right back in.
If you recall early on in the season, I was like, you do know that Judah and JJ are going to play 37 minutes a game, right? Like, so like, that's why, because we were talking like rotations, and I was like, they're not coming off the floor. So you got Judah at 39 or JJ at 39, Judah at 33. That would have been 36, 37 if he didn't need to kind of have a like reality check in the first half. So like they're just going to, if the game is close at all, they're not coming off the floor. But yeah, JJ had 13, 7 boards, 4 assists, 2 turnovers, a solid game from him. Those guys did what they needed to do.
I'll throw out a stat here. I think the biggest stat of this game, you look at turnovers. Syracuse had 7, Colgate had 19. So Syracuse kind of taking care of the ball, kind of kept them in this game at points. I know they made JJ and Judah both had a shitty turnover, or excuse my language, a very bad turnover at late in that game when they were kind of within 3. I think they were down 3, and JJ and Judah both turned the ball over. But listen, they got back on defense. They got the ball back. Obviously, they ended up winning by 4. But I'm going to take a hockey reference here. Anybody who ever goes to hockey games, they pick 3 stars of the game. I'm going to throw out 3 names right now that I think really catapulted this team into the position to come back from 24 points. My first star of the game, obviously Chris Bell. Without Chris Bell, they don't have a chance to make a comeback. He had a career high 25 points tonight, shot 6 of 14 from 3. And I know people are like, damn, he shot 14 threes. Listen, there's not one of those threes that I look back on like I didn't want him to shoot. They were all in rhythm, good looks, coming off penetration. He had a couple that he missed that really probably would have blown the roof off the dome, for sure. My second star,
he had a big one.
My second star of the game, Malik Brown. Amazing in the second half. Undersized, had to guard their center. Made some great plays. Had the big steal at the end off the inbounds where he dunked it, and they put him up. I think 4 points. They were up 2. Yep. And then my third star of the game. I'm going to go on a limb here. Quadir Copeland. I thought he had a great game overall. I saw one of your tweets that you tweeted. Quadir, you are open from 3 because they want you to shoot that. Okay. Don't buy into that. Don't shoot the 3. But I thought outside of those, I think he only shot 2 for the game, but outside of those 2 he shot, I thought Quadir was fantastic. He defended, he moved the ball, he got rebounds. He played his heart out on defense. So those would be my 3 guys that really kind of catapulted this team in the second half. But I know you are a huge Chris Bell fan, but Chris Bell is the reason this team, I think, really got going. At one point he had 8 points in a row, 2 threes, and a nice little drive to the rim where they floated it in. And his energy picked up, and it seemed like as his picked up, everybody else kind of came with him. But I love the aggressiveness. We've talked about it on every show. Him and his offensive abilities are going to be what takes this team to where they think they can go. So seeing that tonight, hopefully that's a sign of things to come, especially heading to Maui for a huge game Monday afternoon. But what do you think of Chris Bell and his overall game tonight?
Okay. So first off, last year, all year long, I probably tweeted out #FreeChrisBell about 700 times. And what that meant was let the man go, right? And I'll talk about my kind of philosophy with this team. Let's talk about the team first, all right? So first off, this team is not good defensively. Last year's team was not good defensively. They're not. They're not going to be. They're going to cause turnovers every now and then when they press. They're not good defensively, right? They're not going. It's not going to change. Okay. Therefore, just go score more points. So therefore, play the guys who can score. It's why Chris Bell has to be on the floor. It's why Taylor has to be on the floor. It's why Judah and JJ can't come out. No matter how many silly gambles Judah takes, no matter how many times Chris Bell doesn't get the rebound that we all think he should get, no matter how many times Taylor gets beat off the bounce, those guys are going to have to play. Like, they're going to have to play. It's just the way it is, right? You saw it tonight. Chris Bell is the only reason, that they were even in the game in the first half at all. And he's the reason they came back. I mean, like, how many just big shot after big shot. And when they closed out a couple of times, he drove it, right? This year he's driving, getting in the lane, he's elevating. He's more athletic than people kind of think he is. And he's getting in the lane and he's able to elevate and score and finish basic shots. But like, let the man green light. Him and Taylor both should just pull it every time they're open. I don't care. Every time they're open.
To piggyback what you just said about that, about having guys on the floor at all times who can score. There were a couple of times in this game where Bell and Taylor were both on the bench at the same time. And those were the times where you saw Syracuse struggle offensively, because obviously there was no spacing on the floor. Not saying that the three guards for Syracuse can't hit threes, but they're not 3-point shooters like the two guys you mentioned. So like, I think as you move on in the season, I don't see them both starting for the rest of the way, obviously, but those are two guys that one of them is going to have to be on the floor at all times to at least have the spacing on the floor that you need.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, again, they've both added the dimension to where they can kind of drive a little bit now, which has been big time for them. There were some weird lineups tonight. Like I think at one point it was Starling, Cuff, Copeland, Brown, and maybe Benny. And just like you're not scoring. Like you're not scoring. They're not going to score. Like so. I just really think that those guys have to play a ton. And again, like we talked about this before, no more stop shooting. Like
they're sagging off of you for a reason.
Like stop. Like stop shooting.
Now it's a different story, right? If you take a step in and like maybe hit a crossover and shoot a mid-range jump shot, that's a different story. But
cool. Yeah, but like let the shooter shoot. Like play like it's like, and this is what it looked like with Colgate in the first half before Syracuse got in their business and kind of sped them up and was disruptive. Like Colgate their guys were all fulfilling their roles on their team perfectly and playing off each other, right? Like before Syracuse got disruptive.
And again, like I know we talk scoring, right? And Syracuse has a guy who hopefully at some point comes back this season that could be a huge addition to that bench roll, and Chance, who can also create off the dribble, create it for himself, for others, shoot the three. So, like, obviously that's another big part that has to get included in this if he comes back. But
yeah, and I think Syracuse can score. I think they're going to be able to score. I'm not worried about.
They scored 79 points tonight and missed 15 of their last 19 in the first half.
Yeah,
so like
I'm saying whether it's turning people over or going on like kind of runs, I think you're going to see this team go on a lot of runs this year, good and bad. So yeah, I think they'll be able to score. And yeah, like I said, like let's just use simple math, guys. Like play like the guys who need to be shooting threes shoot threes. The guys who don't, like, stop. Like I'm not saying never pull it. Like I'm not saying JJ Starling should never shoot a three for the rest of the year. Okay, I'm not saying Judah's actually shooting at a decent clip. He's been pretty selective, but like if we're talking analytics and numbers, and I know he brought in Castron, that's his thing. Like those are the guys who need to be getting the shots. Quadir, no. Like JJ shooting a three to start the second half, no. Like that ain't it. That ain't it.
JJ was 1 of 3, and the one he hit was first half early. It was in transition. Yeah, and you were in rhythm.
Yeah, and I know that they were like trying to get it all back at once, and somebody was just desperate to make a play. But luckily for Syracuse, Chris Bell continued to score.
You get to the rim though. In transition, JJ, I want you putting your head down and making these guys have to commit to you before you shoot a three.
Yeah, I think that's the best for him too. So, who else? So yeah, I mean, Chris Bell, obviously, I know that Judah gets a lot of credit for kind of being part of that run as well. But again, I think Chris Bell is your obvious MVP. Somebody said he had no points and no assists, or no rebounds and no assists. Do not care.
He had 25 points. They don't win that game without him.
Care, okay? I
don't want him to assist. If you have an open shot, shoot the shot.
No, why would he have an assist? Why would he have an assist? Like why? Like if he shoots 6 for 14 from 3 every night, I don't care if he doesn't get a rebound or an assist the rest of the year. I don't care, because we got other guys who are going to do that. Okay, like we got other guys who are going to do that. They're going to. I will say
one thing I was very, very, very disappointed about tonight, and it's obviously something we've harped on since day one. It was one of my biggest questions heading into this season. Naheem McLeod. I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I understand he's 7'4", but I don't know if you can. I mean, you'll have to start him in Maui, obviously, but I don't know how much you can play him moving forward, truthfully. And I know, like, the guy he guarded obviously he shot 3 times all game. He wasn't very offensively gifted at all. But there was one time where he backed McLeod down and put him on his back under the rim.
That was rough.
And scored over him. But like even like on the defensive side, like when shots go up and he just watches rebounds bounce around and just doesn't go for it or anything, like you're 7'4". Obviously Syracuse has had a recent run of really tall, skinny centers. Obviously Pascal Chukwu, you had Jesse Edwards, who gradually, as the years went on, progressed, but like none of them really rebounded at a high rate. I mean, Jesse did it his senior year, but like Syracuse has to figure out that center position very soon. Obviously, we didn't see Hema, Carey, or Patterson tonight, so like, I mean, Malik Brown.
That shows you where those guys are right now.
I mean, Malik held his own for the most part, but like, I don't know how you play Naheem McLeod moving forward more than, we'll say, 12, 13 minutes a night, truthfully.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's going to end up happening. I mean, I don't. He's just not quick enough to the ball. It's great to be 7'4". It's great to like those are good things, but he's just not quick enough to the ball to rebound. Like
he gets overpowered. He's not quick enough.
He has no leverage. Like
he's very late. Like there's a lot of times where guys will force their man when they drive towards him, and he's just never there. Like there's just it's the little things. When you're 7'4", like you should be a monster on the defensive side of the ball in college basketball. Truthfully,
he just doesn't move that way, and like there's a reason he didn't play much at Florida State last year. Like
I saw somebody tweet.
It's okay, and it's okay, but
there's a reason why Florida State wasn't disappointed that a guy like him walked away.
Yeah, so I mean, he's going to have to find his role, and again, like he's going to have to do what he does well. Like if he wants to play, like the rest of the guy. If Chris Bell wants to play, he's got to make shots. If Justin Taylor wants to play, he's got to make shots. If Naheem McLeod wants to play, he has to defend and rebound. And if Malik wants to play, he has to make energy plays and hustle plays and do what he did tonight. So like it's not confusing. I think
it's again, like you said, they have to play like Colgate played tonight, and guys played in
the first half.
Started the game. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Until, like I said, the Syracuse defense just went super disruptive, and I feel like Colgate just kind of shot themselves in the foot to start that run.
You mentioned before we hopped on, it seemed like Colgate played not to lose.
Yeah, it
so
was
like 24. We can kind of coast this through, and
it was almost like Smith was the only guy who was still kind of in attack, and he's just a steady guy in general. He always seemed like the only guy who was still kind of attacking. Like Moffitt looked really hesitant for them. They had a freshman on the floor against the press who was just throwing it up in the air.
Yeah,
like the Cox kid was just throwing it up to the other team. Woodward was dribbling all over the place. Like I think the guards did a really good job of getting in denial mode of the Colgate guards and making them run things through Woodward, and they just weren't able to get what they wanted. Like everything just seemed like an adventure for Colgate in the last 15 minutes of the game. Everything was an adventure. You just didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah, so I mean, I think Copeland played okay. He frustrates me when he tries to like just play outside of himself. But yeah, I don't know. He only played 9 minutes tonight. Benny played 9 minutes. Just sluggish.
There was a report before the game that when they talked to Adrian Autry, and he said that Benny would probably be on his normal minute rotation. Obviously 9 minutes is probably not Benny's normal minute rotation moving forward, but he just didn't seem like he ever really got involved in this game at all. I know he only played 9 minutes, but like they tried to like get him going when he first came in. They would give him the ball, try to get him in positions to score, but he just kind of seemed, I hate to put it this way, but it kind of seemed like he was a little out of shape. At times in this game. Obviously you were really only suspended it was like a week and a half at the most, I think.
Yeah.
So like it was kind of disappointing. I thought they needed Benny to win this game, especially with the size that Colgate had, but props to Chris Bell and Justin Taylor for holding their own on the defensive side of the ball for the most part in the second half. And I mean, I guess there's going to be games like this where maybe the two of them close games if they're playing the way that they played. Maybe Benny gets minutes at the 5 if he's hot, or maybe Benny sits. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I mean, we really haven't played a full roster with everybody like significantly in the game. So
yeah. And again, man, I just, this might be the hill I die on this year. I just think that you have to have, I don't think the defense is going to improve enough over the course of the season. And of course it'll get better, but I don't think it's going to improve enough over the course of the season to where you have to sit guys who can score.
There was two big things I noticed tonight on the defensive side of the ball. The first one, we talked about it. How are you going to play the pick and roll game when Naheem's on the floor? They played a lot of drop coverage. Obviously, that didn't work early. But you noticed in the second half, and they kind of got into guys, they hedged a lot more, things like that. And the other thing that they even talked about it, the announcers did on the game. It seemed like in the first half, guys were getting beat off the dribble with ease. And I don't mean Malik Brown, guys like that. I'm talking our guards, our quicker guys. They were getting beat with ease off the dribble. They kind of tightened that up in the second half and made it a little bit more challenging for guys to get into the paint and things like that. So, like, obviously this team has not put a full 40-minute game together in any game. But it'd be nice to see what a full 40 minutes of this team really looks like. Obviously, like today, you saw a spurt of probably 22 minutes of good basketball and 18 minutes of very bad basketball. But those things are going to happen, obviously, throughout a college basketball game. But like you said, I don't know if they're going to be able to put a defensive game together for 40 minutes. Like you said, they're going to go on runs where they'll lock in like they did the last 10 minutes of this game and turn people over and get transition and things like that. Mm-hmm. But what happens when you don't? And we saw that they had a lot of half-court offense tonight where it was kind of like, I know there was like a couple plays I watched where Judah had the ball at the top of the key. JJ kind of stood next to him, and nobody moved. Like they had one person that they were trying to set screens for and get the ball to, and that's it. Yeah. But like you can't play that way and not have your defender chase you around. They're just going to sit on things like that. So like it was definitely interesting. I don't know. I really don't know what to take from tonight because like you said, it was a really wild game. So like, are you happy they won? They're 3-0. This is what you wanted. It's better going to Maui 3-0 than 2-1, obviously. But they hung on by the skin of their teeth, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, like I said, like obviously glad Syracuse won the game. But I almost felt bad. Like, you know, it's like weird. It's like there's no like bad piece of pizza you eat, right? Like it's still pizza. It's still good. Like the win win still feels good, but it's just like, okay. Like cool. Like obviously great comeback, but again, it's like how does a team get into position to be down by 24 with 16 minutes left against Colgate?
Exactly.
After they smacked you 2 years in a row, you have better athletes at every position. Like
so that was my big thing, right? Is like if you're Syracuse, this game should have been circled on your schedule the minute you knew you were playing this game. Like it just seemed like one of those games where like, and like you said,
we thought the same thing last year, man. I thought the same exact thing last year. I was like, oh yeah, they're going to come out tuned in, ready to roll, and they just weren't.
No, they weren't. But like, I mean, even some interesting stats looking at the box score, like, obviously Syracuse got out rebounded by 10 or 12 in this game, but like Syracuse only gave up 10 offensive rebounds. I know that was a big struggle that we've had early in the year. What else? I mean, Syracuse had 13 assists to their 15. Syracuse had 10 steals to their 5 blocks to their 2. We talked turnovers already, obviously, but like Syracuse shot 20 free throws in this game. total, and Judah had 14 of them. Like, that's obviously something that's going to have to change moving forward. I mean, obviously, 6 of them probably came late when he went to the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
But like JJ only shooting 2 free throws is very disappointing. I mean, there was probably some times JJ went downhill and got fouled, and obviously he doesn't get the calls that Judah gets. There was a couple Judah got that maybe weren't really falls, but like he had that one jump shot one that kind of got him going, got the team going down the stretch. It's tough, right? They're down 24, so you can dig in, you get it. I know you tweeted it. Play it by 4-minute marks. I think that was like the 12-minute. You were like, play this by 4 minutes.
That's what Autry said in his post game too. He was like, because again, I mean, look, they were down, I think 16 with 12 minutes to go. I was like that, or I was like 4. Hey, win by 4 every 4 minutes. Like that's just.
I had a buddy who was actually at the game, who was covering the game, and he was texting me, and he was like every it was a 10-minute mark, the 5-minute mark. And we just kept saying, get it to 5 or 6 by the 5-minute mark, and you have a chance. And the 5-minute mark hit, and it was a 5-point game. And then like obviously Chris Bell, they're down 3. Chris Bell gets a wide open 3. The dome's ready to erupt, just misses, and they come down and I think they hit a 3 to go back up 6. But obviously
they had a layup or something.
Yeah, obviously I think if I had to pick one play from this game that I thought to me was the biggest play of this game, they're down 3. They're on the offense. The possessions is going absolutely nowhere. Chris Bell gets the ball, takes 2 dribbles, gets the big man on him, and just pulls up for 3, ties it up, and you just see everybody kind of like that relief, like, okay, we tied it. Like, we're not down anymore. Now it's 0-0. We got 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. Let's play our game and let's finish this.
Yeah, I knew they were going to win when they got down like to 5. I was like, oh, they're get this. I've seen this 100 times with like, you know, the quote unquote better team. And so I had a coach who used to if like we were trying to make a comeback, or he would call it sphincter time, right? Because the team with the lead, like you start chipping away, momentum happens, and he's like, then the sphincter just tightens, and they get tight, you're loose, you're ready to go. And then
I mean, you have nothing if you're Syracuse at that point, right? You have nothing to lose. And like that was a big thing to me. Like everybody's like, well, Chris Bell shot 14 threes, but guess what? At the time Chris Bell was shooting these threes, we were down 24. We were down 18. We were down 15. So like it doesn't matter at this point, but you shoot these and they go in, and you start to build momentum and gain more momentum as you're making these threes one by one by one. And like, obviously when the game gets tight, the threes, like your body tenses up a little bit, and like you're down 3 and you have a chance to tie the game in the dome, and like it's just off, and you kind of put your head down. But like this team, I mean, they crawled back into it, and they never really like laid back down once they got close. It was like, keep your foot on the gas, keep your foot on the pedal. And like you said, their guards kind of played denial a lot on the Colgate's guards. So like when they're inbounding the ball, they're getting the ball in the corner, and they're trapping in the corner, and it's guys that aren't used to handling the ball in those situations. So like you mentioned, the one guy threw it from the corner in front of SU's bench all the way to half court, and Judah gets a steal, goes down for the layup. Like those are the things that we were talking about earlier with the press. Like you're putting guys in situations that they're not comfortable with. And there was a couple times where you also mentioned where their center Woodard kind of dribbled the ball up past half court like 4 or 5 times late in that game,
bobbling it. Like it was just like, what?
It's just you're putting guys in situations that they're not accustomed to. Yeah. So they're gonna make mistakes. But like Syracuse taking care of the ball for the most part in that game was obviously a positive moving forward. But yeah, I mean, hey, they crawled their way back into it. Obviously, they probably should have never been down 24 to Colgate at the end of the day. But to see him get punched in the face and to kind of see him punch back, definitely a positive in that. But
yeah, and I think pressing is something they should do from time to time. I don't think they need to make it their identity. I don't think they need to press 40 minutes a game. But I think throwing it in there, even if you just press on like made free throws or like just something to where there's like
or
a little
layup.
bit.
Like you pick and choose, right? Like if
Yeah,
one of your
like,
guards gets downhill and they make a layup, then throw it in.
or all dead balls, right? Like anytime there's a dead ball or out of a timeout, like just something to where they can get that going a little bit. Because again, if you do it all game, it's going to end up not working. Like it never does.
And the one thing is they also, there was a time where Autry kind of switched defenses. I think there was like 4 straight possessions where it was man, zone, back to man, and then he threw the press back in. So like changing up so guys aren't accustomed to like, oh, they're in zone, so we know what to come. They call a play call against zone, and then you kind of switch it up and it's man to man. And like there's obviously different things you can do a matchup man, you can switch on screens, you can go under screens, you can hedge balls. So like there's a lot of things that in the first half Syracuse kind of when they got screened, their guys kind of dropped a little bit. So it was good looks coming off screens, or like you said, it was one pass away to where like if Judah got screened, JJ would come help, kind of cut off, but nobody would help JJ. So JJ's man shoots the three. But like in the second half, they kind of seemed to be a little more on par defensively. But again, you're going to Maui, you're playing Tennessee. Tennessee, I think they've played 3 games this season. They've scored 80 points in all 3, 80 or more in all 3. They look very good tonight against Wofford. But like those are the things that you're not going to be able to have 5-6 minute droughts against a team like that.
No, a Final Four potential team in Tennessee. So back to Bell real quick. So, all right, 14 threes, 14, made 6. That's 18 points on 14 shots. Okay. That is 1.28. That's 1.28 points per shot taken. Okay?
Syracuse shot 32 threes as a team, and Justin Taylor and Chris Bell shot 19 of those 32. I will take that 100 times out of 100. And I think, what did Chris or Justin hit 2? So out of their 19 threes, they hit 8 of them. Yeah, that's like 41%.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, right? Like, so if 1.28 points per shot taken, right? Like Syracuse has not had that number in a game, like as a team in a game. So like, again, if you're complaining about Chris Bell shooting to me, you're crazy. Like that makes
if you tell me
no sense.
If me and you were on this pod this morning, okay, when we did our pregame show, if I told you that the final stats for this game would be Judah has 23 and 8, JJ has 13, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and combined Chris Bell and Justin Taylor have 31 points, and they hit 8 of their 19 threes, you're looking at me go, Syracuse wins by more than 10.
That's a dub. That's
what I'm saying, right? So like,
and it usually would be.
But that's you will take the I mean, obviously Justin Taylor only had the 2 threes. He played better than just the 6 points that he had.
Of course.
But still, I mean, 8 threes out of 19 from the 2 of them. I'm taking that every game.
Again, Bell and Taylor, 8 for 19. Rest of the team, 1 for 3, 6, 8, 1 for 13. Stop shooting. Let those 2 guys fire the F away.
That's what they're here for.
Fire away. I don't care. And look, let them shoot. I'm okay with both of them shooting 8 a game. Let them shoot 8 or 9 a game. Let them fire away. That doesn't mean force it, obviously. Like a lot of Bell's threes came because he was open. I mean,
but like I said, if you go back and watch all 14 of the threes that Bell shot, I don't remember one of them being a bad shot.
We've been saying that all year too. Remember, like we've been like, he's getting good looks, he's getting open looks, and again, Bell and Taylor are going to get good looks because they have dynamic guards like Judah and JJ on the team. All right,
and like
because those guys are so good at getting to the rim and getting to the foul line, they gather so much attention. They're going to get clean looks all year long. That's not going to change, right? Because if you are guarding Syracuse and you are not going to help off those drives, JJ and Judah will absolutely murder you all year long.
Listen, like, I don't care who you play. There's not many teams in this league that are going to be able to guard those 2 guys one-on-one for a 40-minute game consistently and not be able to send help from the corner.
Yeah, and it's figuring out how to Okay. And again, it's figuring out how to cater your offense towards that instead of it being so random at times. Because that was what's frustrating to me. Like the random offense looks good when shots go in, but when like guys end up forcing it and there's like those really bad stretches, the reason it's so ugly is because there's no real direction.
But this is also, I noticed a lot. There was a lot of times where JJ or Judah would drive, and we don't have anybody that rolls. So, like last year when Judah drove, Jesse Edwards was right there, right? Now, like Naheem, I think what did Naheem finish with? I think he had 2 points. It was a putback layup.
By the time Naheem rolls to the rim, the play's over. Jesse could quick roll. Like, he'd set that thing and he'd get to the rim pretty quick, like, because he's agile on his feet. By the time Naheem turns, plants, gets to the rim, like it's over.
They didn't. I will say one thing: they didn't start off the game.
He was already at the free throw line getting ready to shoot his free throws. By the time he's at the rim, like
they didn't start off their game with their patented Naheem McLeod post up where he goes over his right shoulder,
and they don't throw it to the rest of the game. Yeah. So
but
yeah,
But I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like there's going to be games this year where you need Naheem. So like, I don't know. I don't. And obviously, like you said, not seeing Hema again tonight, kind of just discouraging a little bit. Like,
I mean,
is it down bad? It's got to be, right? Like, I mean, he's dressed, so it's not like he's in street clothes or anything like that. Like, he's in uniform.
Did he get worse? Like, is he worse? I don't
how much worse could he have been? Like, he really wasn't that good last year.
They just trust Malik so much more in that 5 spot. Like, is Malik just like busting his chops in practice? Maybe like that's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming that Malik is just doing the dirty on him in practice at the 5 spot. So they're like, we're gonna play Malik.
I mean, listen, all credit to Malik. I thought Malik had a great game.
Made some big plays.
Obviously, obviously working Benny back into it also helps. You get another guy for the rebounding aspect and another playmaker per se. But I don't know. They came away with a W. It wasn't pretty by any stretches in that way. But obviously, your stars showed up. Judah 23-8, JJ 13-7, and I think four or five assists, 4 assists. 9 of 19. I mean, really, if you take 9 of 19 from Chris Bell for 25 points, I'll take that every game. I don't care how many they could. All 19 of his shots could have been threes. I don't care.
No, I don't either. I'm telling you, I literally don't care if they both shoot 10 a game. I'm not even being drastic. Like it just makes the most sense. Just makes the most sense. Yeah, I feel like my brain is like scrambled on this pod tonight just because like I just feel like so much happened and like I'm all over the place and scattered. I think tomorrow morning I might think more clearly when I send out my post. And I can like look at the numbers a little bit more, but man, bottom line I think is that it's a good character win no matter how you look at it. You got to admit that it's a good win for those guys to A, get over the hump of Colgate, which sounds silly, but it was big and important. B, to show that they have the capability to bounce back, like you said. C,
this was really their first real test where they kind of got punched in the face and had to punch back.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's encouraging for sure. I think they saw some things they can do in spurts, and I think for Chris Bell to finally go off is good for him and everybody else around him to be just confident when he shoots. It didn't look like he was just like hoping for it to go in tonight. No. Like he was cooking. Like he was like, that's going down.
He would hit threes.
Like, no hesitation.
There was one three he hit from the corner in front of Syracuse's bench in the second half. And I think Braden Smith came over to contest and he kind of like gave him the 3 fingers and he said he talked some shit. And I'm like, you know what? Like,
give it to me.
If this is the beginning of a Chris Bell that we're going to see for the rest of the year, watch out.
Let's start the Chris Bell villain arc. I'm down. Right?
Watch out.
Chris Bell is the villain. I'm down. Like let's make it happen. And I think also this sounds weird, but I think the fan base felt a lot of the same with him. Like they're like, oh God, I hope it goes in. I hope it goes in. I hope it goes in. Like hopefully now it's like that's a bucket. That's a bucket. That's a
You hope.
bucket.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah,
all you can
like,
hope for
that's
at
a
the end
bucket.
of the day.
So yeah. So again, bottom line, they found a way to win. And look, they're 3-0. When we look back on the season, this might be a game we look on in a couple of ways. I personally have more questions than answers after this one. Like I thought I'd have some more answers after this game. I have more questions. I still don't know about this team, and that's okay.
So
I think that's obvious, like based on the way they're playing. I don't know if they know either. Like I still think they're kind of soft. I
my
still think
buddy interviewed Chris Bell after the game. And Chris Bell, he just posted it an hour ago on Twitter. He said, "Q's forward Chris Bell is as honest as it gets." Chris Bell, quote unquote, says, "I really didn't want to lose to Colgate for a third year in a row."
put that on a poster. Put that on a shirt.
So, hey, I mean, listen, they were down 24. Listen, you're 3-0 now, right? Like, what more can you do, right? Like,
Yeah, you win the games that are in front of you.
I mean, like, if this was last year, right? They don't finish this game. It may have gotten uglier, and I hate to say that, but it may have gotten uglier.
Yeah, maybe. I don't. I mean, I don't know. This Colgate last year's Colgate team was better than this. Colgate.
Yeah.
I like this Colgate team. I think they'll have some success in the Patriot. But last year's Colgate team would beat this year's Colgate team. Yeah, I just, like I said, I have more questions than answers. And I think a lot of those will be definitively answered by this time next week, for sure, about some things. And again, just I'm not even worried about winning and losing in Maui. Whatever. Like I don't really care. I think they're probably going to go 1-2. They're probably going to lose 2 and beat Chaminade. Whatever. I want to see what happens in that Tennessee and Gonzaga/Purdue game against elite competition and see how this stuff translates, right? Because you never know. Sometimes something clicks, and when these guys like are playing these mid majors and then they step into the limelight, like things change, right? So we'll see. I think we'll learn a lot. I don't think we need to base who this team entirely is on these 3 games because, again, like I said, like it's just different when the vibe is like conference play and Power 5 play. Like it just you just play different. Like you just do. Like you figure out real quick that you cannot get away with the things that you were getting away with. And you have to play at a certain level. I think that'll happen. And I don't know. I think we'll find out a lot really quick.
Like you mentioned, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, Adrian Autry's quote, one of his quotes from his post-game press conference. We played 4-minute games. Our goal was just every 4 minutes look up and see where we're at. We got it to a manageable number with eight minutes to go, and our crowd was phenomenal. So, again, they, like you said, they played 4-minute increments, and they kind of wherever you can get in 4 minutes, and you just hope that it's closer and it's closer and it's closer, so that way you can just have a chance. And they got it to 5 points with 5 minutes to go, and
you get a game down to 6 or 8 points, like anything can freaking happen, man. Like that's just the other team misses a couple of shots they usually make. They do something stupid. You get a couple of hustle plays. Like once that thing was down to 6 or 8, I was like, I think we're gonna find a way to somehow freaking win this game, and they did. So credit to those guys for battling. I thought it was a great.
Another quote from Adrian Autry on Benny Williams. It's going to take some time to get his conditioning back. He was up cheering for his teammates. We look forward to getting him back in the rotation. So all positives. Obviously, being out for a week and a half, it will take some time to get his conditioning back. But listen, like you said, it wasn't pretty. They came out with a win. They got punched in the face. They punched back. But now we are in for a treat. Monday at 2:30 when they head to Maui and play Tennessee. What are they? Number 7, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. They on Ken Palm, they are 8 with the third best defense and the
they're
best.
ESPN. They're ranked 7th. So you get a top 10 team in a neutral location. Obviously, anything can happen. If Syracuse were to come out with the win, it'd be a massive win moving forward for this team. But like you said, even if they go 1-2 in this tournament, they should. I mean, they should at least get one win if they meet Shamadan at some point. But just play good, play your style. Don't get out of what you do, and let's see how we play against top 25 competition. Because we're only going to play more top 25 competition as the season goes on. Obviously, as everybody knows, the last couple of years, a big thing with Syracuse is quad 1 and quad 2 wins. Last year, I think we were 2-12 against quad 1 and quad 2. So it wasn't very pretty. But those are the games that, when it comes tournament time, really matter when you're getting selected to the NCAA tournament, is how you play against quad 1 and quad 2 teams. This Colgate game, if Colgate does what people expect him to do in the Patriot League, could end up being a quad 2 game when it's all said and done. But let's go to Maui. Let's have fun, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, Colgate, we'll learn a lot about them too. They play Yale on Friday, which is and again, like, Colgate beat Brown by 2 the other night and got lucky. All right, so like we'll see. They're figuring their stuff out too. They play Yale. They got a couple of good like 125 Ken Pom games. They got Arizona on December 2nd. They play Illinois, so they got some they got Iona. Like, they got some games on their schedule there in Cornell. Like, they got a lot of games on their schedule where they're going to have some chances to really up their stock. All right, let's talk ACC real quick, and then we'll get out of here. Duke beats Michigan State by 9 in Chicago. That one was really ugly. It was like 10-10, 10 minutes into the game. I kind of saw on the ticker.
The first part of that game was very, very, very sloppy.
I think Michigan State came out in the second half and played well, scored 45. Kind of bounced back from that JMU game. UVA smoked North Carolina A&T. Well, I don't know why they even play them, but they beat them 80-51. And then Georgia Tech, Damon Stoudemire gets his first L, lost to UMass Lowell, 74-71 in Atlanta. So there you go for that.
Speaking of that,
it could always be worse.
Damian Stoudemire, what are your thoughts on him in Georgia Tech? Do you think with time he can kind of change that program around? I mean, he was an NBA guy, right? So, like, he was part of the Celtics when the Celtics kind of blew up.
He was in Boston and all that. I mean, I don't
know. I think he played at Georgia Tech, didn't he?
I think
he played at Georgia Tech.
Did he?
I thought so. I think it's like a homecoming for him.
Nah, man, he's no. He's he might be from Atlanta. He's an Arizona guy, man.
Was he?
He's Arizona. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Maybe he's from Atlanta, but
maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, he's definitely Arizona. I remember now. I can see it in my head now. I don't know. We'll see. It's been tough sledding for any of those, for Georgia Tech, Boston. Those two schools.
It was Josh Pastner that they used to have, right?
Yeah, it was Pastner. And he's got some decent pieces. The Kelly kid's pretty good. We'll see. Maybe we'll do a pod on Friday or something on the ACC.
I mean, they came into the dome last year and put 100 on us.
Yeah, that was the end for me. I think that was like the end for me. I won't say I was over it because I still, kept watching and I was still tuned in, but and I always will be like that, as bad or good as it gets. But yeah, that was I think that was the lowest point for me last year, was that Georgia Tech game. I was like, what am I watching right now? But hey, that's over. The Orange are 3-0.
ACC tomorrow night, if anybody's interested in any college basketball, tomorrow night, Virginia Tech takes on Campbell. Boston College takes on Richmond at 7 on ESPN Plus, which should be a pretty decent game. And Louisville takes on Coppin State. Obviously, Louisville's had a rough go of it. They're 1-1. They have a whole new – I'm pretty sure it's like a whole new roster this season. Their best player from last year, Al Ellis, transferred to, I want to say, Arkansas. But, yeah, so Louisville's had a rough go of it as of early.
I think there are 363 teams in college basketball, and Coppin State's 360 right now in Ken Pom. So
So
dear God,
they are
if they
0
drop
3.
that to Coppin State, if they drop it to Coppin State, good Lord,
But
that's going to be
yeah, maybe we'll do a podcast for you guys this weekend about. I think next week there's a whole bunch of tournaments going on.
Yeah, some of
maybe
them
we'll
will start on Friday.
Yeah, maybe we'll drop one Friday and go over a couple of the big tournaments this weekend. But we will have our Tennessee preview Monday morning for you guys. They tip off at 2:30 Monday, and I'm pretty sure it's on ESPN. So
Might try and get that out to you guys on Sunday night, just because it's
an earlier
tip, so you guys can jump in and do what you do. So,
but it should be a fun trip to Maui for Syracuse. Definitely for the kids. They get to go to Maui. I mean, what better than that?
What an opportunity, man. Yeah, for sure.
But we'll see what happens. Like I said, we named some of Adrian Autry's post-game notes that he had in his press conference. From the looks of it, I wouldn't expect Benny Williams to be starting Monday against Tennessee unless they really kind of ramp up his conditioning for the next couple of days. But, I mean, hey, he's not a bad guy to have come off the bench at all. But we'll see what happens.
He'll be fine. But again, this is what happens. Like you make mistakes, you do dumb things, you got to work your way back in. Like it's just the way it is. Like,
and really, I mean, Justin Taylor and Chris Bell have taken advantage of their opportunity.
Yeah.
So
it's like I think we talked about this. Like we were like, this is a chance for other guys to be. Yeah, and it's also a chance for these other guys while he's gone to kind of develop and get their spots on the roster to where, okay, now when he is back full strength, and also when Westry is back full strength, like these guys have like gotten better in their roles, and it just will all plug in. So unfortunately, it might be a season where we're kind of figuring things out at different stages. Like, we added this, but there are worse problems to have. Like you could have 4 guys on the floor who aren't any good, and you have no bench. Like you could be Louisville, right? Like,
or you could be Syracuse. You could be Syracuse from 2 years ago when 4 of their starting 5 were Jimmy, Cole, Buddy, and Joe Girard. I mean,
yeah, so like you can't guard anybody, you can't guard yourself. So like, yeah, I agree. So, all right, well, we kept you guys for an hour. We're gonna get out of here, I guess.
One final note I'll throw in there before we sign off. Obviously, we've talked a lot about Chris Bell tonight. He was fantastic. He was the MVP of this game. I know Brandon kind of said that a lot of people were like, he finished with 0 rebounds and 0 assists. I did think that he was actually very good on the defensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. He guarded their point guard, Braden Smith, for a couple plays in the press.
Used his length.
Yeah, he used his length. So, obviously, a lot of people at the end of the game look at box scores and look at stats. But I think he made a lot of little plays that don't show up in the stat sheet. And, I mean, he had 25 points. They don't win this game without him. So, it's good for him. Hopefully this boosts his confidence a lot, and this is what we see moving forward.
Yeah, what's that quote? Like, if like, Jesus probably had haters, like, right? Like, he was mad. If he was walking on water, they were mad because he wasn't running or something like that, right?
Yeah,
like there's something like that. Like, it's not that, but it's something like that. Like, people are always going to find something about everybody, right? So, all good. He did what he was supposed to do. Like, if anybody fulfilled their role tonight, it was Chris Bell. Shoot it. Get us back in the game. Defend, fly around. You don't need to rebound.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's my quote of the night. I don't care. I don't care.
That's why we have a 7'4" guy on the court.
Let it. Well, in theory, but yeah, let it fly. Let it fly. And he might go 2 for 10 next game. Don't care. Let it fly. We have to get offense from those forward spots, and they can't get offense unless they pull the trigger. And I'm gonna sign off on that. So that's gonna be my hill this year. Like last year, my hill was Joe Girard's not killing us that bad, and it was let Chris Bell shoot more. This year, it's gonna be Chris Bell and Taylor should shoot 15, 16 threes a game.
8 apiece.
Let them fly, baby. Let it fly. One of them's bound to get hot. Let it rip. Right? Let it rip. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you hung out with us again, like, subscribe, do all the cool things. Help us keep growing this thing. Hopefully you enjoy this maybe on your morning drive. And maybe your morning after thoughts are a little more clear than ours. I feel like we were all over the place today, but that was the kind of night we had. So on behalf of Nick Peckham, I'm out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys sometime this weekend, hopefully.